Watch your back, don't leave your dough. Crack, he slither through your space and watch it all collapse. Watch your back, don't leave your dough. Crack, slither through your space and watch it all collapse.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is your man, boy, Pig, Dom the Great here with another video, and today we're doing the long-awaited Assassin's Creed Revelations tier list. It's taken me a bit of time to collect the footage for this one because I don't play much ACR and there was no ACR content on my channel, so obviously I had to record a lot of the footage from scratch. Couldn't even get footage of some of the maps, so I had to use program footage. But whatever, I want to give a shout out to all of the guys who helped me collect footage for the DLC maps, because obviously it's impossible to find gameplay on the DLC maps of Assassin's Creed Revelations, so you have to make lobbies. Other than that, the other lobbies were recorded in pub mainly. Now, I want to apologise in advance because my voice will be sounding strange this episode and I might cough. I have a chest infection at the moment and I've taken the opportunity today whilst it's subsided slightly to record this audio, otherwise I'm probably not going to be able to get it done for another week. So that is why my voice might sound gravelly and I might be coughing. Not because I've smoked pot or anything. Right, so just like the Assassin's Creed video, this one is going to be based primarily off how these maps work for Artifact Assault. I do not know all the deathmatch maps for these maps because some of them are the DLC maps, so I've never played deathmatch on them, so I won't be covering deathmatch in this game. I'll only be covering Assassinate, and I will mention briefly how these maps work in Artifact Assault. So let's get right into it with our first map, Antioch. This is one of the better of the new maps, well, quote-unquote new maps that came as part of Assassin's Creed Revelations, and I will give Antioch a B. This map is fine. It's probably the most bang average map in the game. It plays perfectly acceptably in Assassinate and in Artifact Assault. It's got the right sort of mix of it being roofy but not terribly so. And the map is also a reasonable size as well. However, my main problem with this map, dare I say, is it's actually kind of bland. There's nothing particularly interesting about this map. It's a very, very forgettable map in the grand scheme of things. It's quite flat, so there's no real changes in elevation, but it's not flat in a good way because it still has roofs on it. It has no really fascinating, unique assets on it apart from the mosque in the centre, so I would say this map is just slightly dull to play on. It's not exciting, however, it's what you would call a jack of all trades in the sense that whilst it isn't exciting, it plays well because of that. There's nothing offensive about this map, you know. It just works as a map, but I can't give it any higher than a B because it's just so forgettable. It's like the Boston North End of Assassin's Creed Revelations. Next we have Dyers. Now this map I will give probably a B. Now unlike Antioch, this is a very memorable map if you've played it, obviously. I mean, it's not a very well played map obviously because it's in the extra content maps for Assassin's Creed Revelations and none of those maps particularly saw the light of day in terms of matches. However, this map is fucking beautiful. We played a couple of games on it and it is stunning. It's got a great setting, so even the skybox in this map is beautiful. It's also the only map in the entire history of Assassin's Creed multiplayer to have a dawn setting, which is a very unique look. It's got this the whole design of the map, all the buildings are pale whitewashed stucco, which is quite cool, and then it blends really amazingly with the fact that there's dye production areas and it's got this beautiful multicolored areas. As for how the map plays, it plays fine. It's similar to Antioch in a sense. So the actual map itself is relatively flat. There's not many changes in elevation. However, it is a slightly roofy map, so there are quite a lot of roofs. However, none of the roofs are particularly horrible to climb. There's lots of lift access to the roofs, and some of the areas, such as the area where the dyes are being made, have interesting ramps and quick ways to get to the roofs, which are pretty unique to this map. I don't think there's any other map in Assassin's Creed where the roofs have such unique access through these ramps, and it can make for interesting plays. I think this map definitely has high potential for montage clips. I would say, yeah, it's honestly a decent map. I will give it a B because it is slightly too roofy to be any higher than that, and it some sections of the map are quite forgettable, such as the rear sections of the map. However, this front end with the dye production area is just really a lot of fun to play on, and it definitely carries the map in terms of ranked. Now we have Florence. This map, people seem to either loathe it or like it. I find I perform quite well on this map personally. However, I will give it actually another B. Like the previous two, we're starting to stack up the Bs here. Florence is fine. It's an okay map. It's quite roofy, but it's roofy to the point where there's no real point in not being on the roofs. So in that sense, it's actually quite a flat map, because all of the roofs are 2 to 3 stories tall. They're all roughly the same elevation. And playing on the ground isn't particularly feasible on this map, so it turns into actually a flat map where everybody is just on the roofs, which are the same height. The central courtyard area in this map is quite interesting. It's got an interesting square-shaped roof, which actually is a common theme on a couple of the other maps, which I'll get to later. Florence, yeah, it's fine. It's definitely the most average of the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood maps, which returned for ACR, I would say. I'm not sure why they brought this one back over other ACB maps, but, you know, whatever. Ubisoft works in mysterious ways, I guess. I think the best thing about this map definitely would be the square roof in the centre, where you can just really make some plays. If you're lucky, you know, it's easy to get many a grab kill on this map, and it just lends itself very nicely to acrobatic outplays and stuff like that. The only problem in this map really is, you know, within theory it's hard to get like hidden kills on it because everyone's on the roof, but realistically, does that even matter? Like the other 2 maps, it works fine. It's an average map. It's, you know, bang average. It just operates well as a map. It gets a B. Now we have Sook. Now, I wouldn't give this an S+ tier, but this is easily the best map that was introduced in Assassin's Creed Revelations. It's, I would say, fantastic. This map is quite small, and I find that actually that tends to be a good thing when it comes to maps. In Assassinate, it can sometimes get a bit irritating because of how it can be difficult to set up chains without being vultured. But I think Sook is almost the perfect size. It is very small, however, there are areas in this map where you can make plays without being vultured. I would say the only area where it's dangerous to try and string anything together is in this central area, and that's actually shown in the image of this map. If you get lucky and you have the right abilities, it is quite possible to get the sickest clips on this map. Honestly, like the gameplay that I've used for this map is pretty dope, and that's the kind of thing you can get in a lot of games on this map, because it just lends itself very nicely to wild chains as long as you don't get vultured. Like the other best maps in Assassin's Creed multiplayer, this map is almost completely devoid of roofs. It is obviously still possible to get aerials and acros on this map, because there are areas of slightly differing elevation. However, this is what I call an interior map, which are some of the best in Assassin's Creed. Other examples being Portobello from Assassin's Creed 4, Castel Gandolfo from Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, that we'd get to later, and again Prison from AC4, which I think are some of the best maps in the game, in my opinion. Also Fort Walcott from Assassin's Creed 3, whilst it's not necessarily an interior map, it plays very similarly to Sook. However, I gave Fort Walcott an A, just because the spawns on that map are kind of bullshit, and it just really, you get caught up in the middle, and Fort Walcott is a much more open map than Sook. Sook has a lot of, or Sook, however you pronounce it, I'm going to pronounce a couple of these wrong because they're Turkish names obviously, and I'm not a Turk. Sook is slightly superior to a map like Fort Walcott from Assassin's Creed 3 because it has a lot of walls, and it has a lot of areas, and this large, I'm not sure what it is, it's like a gazebo almost, except it's made out of stone in the centre of the map, the archway. It kind of gives a nice block and view in the centre of the map. So Fort Walcott has no line of sight block in the middle of the map, which means you can just, you know, fucking permalock people from the other side of the map, whereas Sook has got the right design. So it breaks the line of sight in the middle of the map, so you can't just permalock people, and I think it's excellent because of that, amongst other things. It's just, you know, the highlight of Assassin's Creed Revelations map design, I would say. Now we have Imperial. Right, this map is difficult for me to place because I didn't play too much on it. It's a really beautiful map, but I think I'm going to give it a D, a C rather. And whilst it's a fine map and it looks very beautiful, it's got these amazing walls, which, while obviously based off the real life walls of Constantinople, with it being set in the Imperial district there, I would give this map a C just because I would describe it as a Galata light. And what I mean by that is it is a very roofy map, and unlike a map like Florence, the roofs here are of different elevation, which is a pain in the arse because it means you constantly have to be climbing to high ground whilst avoiding being aerialed and shit like that, and it's not particularly entertaining to play a map where you're at constant risk of being acrobatic or aerial killed. I find that's definitely a problem on this map. This map lends itself well to roofing. However, I can't give it anything lower than a C because it's the correct size for a map, and actually it does have some diversity. There are areas in this map which aren't roofy. There's this courtyard area which is shown in the image below, and there's other long roofs which kind of act as like obviously flat plains. Well, not plains obviously, but like flat areas. I find that certain large roofs do act like this, such as a roof I'll get to later, which is infamous for being like its own level almost. I would say Imperial is fine. You know, it's like a C tier. It's not the best map, but you know, it's not terrible. It's not something which you're gonna like be really not looking forward to playing, so it gets a C from me. Now we have Ippokratus. I think this is possibly the most underrated map in Assassin's Creed Revelations. I was thinking about this earlier. I was torn as to whether or not I should just slap it in the beta. Honestly, I give this map an A. I've always had a great experience with this map. I find this map to be genuinely underrated. A lot of people don't value this map particularly, but I really love it. It can be slightly roofy around the sides, however a lot of the roofs on this map are of the same elevation, much like Florence, and the roofs which aren't are quite exciting in their own right. There's a large flat roof in the corner of the map which is taller than the other ones, but it's large enough to make plays on without, you know, being vulged, and you can approach this roof without being aerialed outright. It's like a large square roof. I probably don't have any footage of it, but there's plenty of like montage clips. If you watch some older montages of people getting sick plays on this roof, it's quite easy to get, you know, triple grabs, even quad grabs on this roof, which is quite a lot of fun. The centre of the map is like a low-lying area with a marketplace, much like Rome, which is a fan favourite. I think this map is just fine. Honestly, it's quite a lot of fun. The way the roofs work around the courtyard also lend itself well to drawing people in for good assassinate plays. And this map as well, unlike a lot of maps which have quite a lot of roofs with different elevations, they don't have, you know, these annoying hidden passageways where people can, you know, make their way through without compass detection, which can be really infuriating in this game. A lot of the maps, which I'll get to later, have this problem, where basically you can be on a higher elevation and people can pass above or below you without, you know, obviously coming into your line of sight, which can be really infuriating actually when you're trying to find people. If you remember from my Assassin's Creed 3 tier list video, I gave New York Brewery a B. However, playing it more recently, I'm almost determined to give that map, like, you know, retrospectively a C, because a lot of the time on New York Brewery you'll find yourself sort of on these wooden walkways with people underneath you, and it can be such a fucking pain in the neck to find where people actually are in the compass, and this map gets it completely spot on in not doing this. So all of the areas which are like covered walkways will only have one elevation, including this marketplace as well, which is great to just, you know, play around. I think this map is honestly good. It plays well in Artifact Assault as well. It's a very balanced map. I just think it's quite undervalued by a lot of people. If you don't like roofs as well, it's got plenty of areas where you can just play around without having to even free run. I think it is definitely one of ACL's better maps, and that people who don't value this map maybe, I don't know, they're missing something, because I think this is genuinely one of the better maps in the game. Now we have Jerusalem. Now, this map is interesting, okay, it's fascinating, and I'm actually, it might upset some people who like this map, but I'm going to give it a D. And honestly, on paper, it sounds like it should be perfect. It's very flat. Much like Sook, it has a structure in the centre of it to disrupt line of sight. However, this map is deceivingly large. It is actually quite big. It's on one of the bigger maps of the game, in my opinion. And unlike other maps, it's just so devoid of like anything in the center of the map, apart from the Temple of the Rock, which you can't actually climb, which is bizarre. I think you should be able to climb that mosque in the center of the map. It's just kind of crappy. A lot of the map is very flat. It's quite easy just to fucking lock people cross map on. There's like, it's almost devoid of structures. So whilst there are areas around the side of the map, which are like little warren-y marketplaces, which can be quite fun to play in, the actual middle of the map is just so sparse of life. It just really destroys this map. And whilst it is one of the prettier looking maps, with the temple being beautifully realised and going to the point where it actually drops your FPS, which is actually a problem because it can be horrible to play around the centre of the map when this beautiful building being rendered to your side is actually destroying your FPS. In this game, it is important to have a high FPS after all, and if you're playing on PS3 or Xbox 360, which are god-awful consoles, then you'll just find yourself, struggling to maintain even 30 FPS, which can be absolutely hideous when you're playing Assassinate. In Artifact Assault, this map is balanced, however, it's a real bitch to steal on because people will just use gun and shoot you because there is such an excellent line of sight. You can literally almost see base to base, even though this map is quite large, which just goes to show how devoid of structures it is, apart from the temple in the centre. I can't really give it anything higher than a D because it's just quite dull because of that. And it's just not very exciting as a map. Now we have Knight's Hospital, and I'm going to give this for a D. It's hard to place this map, honestly. This map is, for the most part, hideous. Around the outsides of the map, it's got a horrible layout. It's just a mishmash of hideous roofs of different heights, which is just a pain in the bitch to play on because you constantly have to be climbing up and down, avoiding getting aerialed and all of that. It can be a real pain in the ass. However, this map is saved from being an absolute tragedy by the actual, hospital itself, the Knight's Hospital in the centre, which provides, for the most part, where you'll be playing on this map. It's got this amazing quad-like structure with the large roof, which can be a real laugh to play on. I find it quite fun if everybody is on this roof kind of avoiding getting killed and, setting up grab kills and chains on people. This is an exciting roof to play on. However, the reason why this map can't be higher than a D is because it suffers from having a lower walkway underneath the quad. There's like archways and tunnels underneath the major structure, the centre of the map, which make this map hell to play on if you are against people who aren't into climbing and stuff and you're stuck on this roof. You will be struggling for the life of you to find where anyone is because your compass will be like, oh yes, well there's someone right next to you, but the reality is they're under you, oh let's go down and find them, and they've already, fucked off, moved, maybe they've even gone up to the roof, so you have to climb back up. It's just such a pain in the ass to play on sometimes. I recorded the game yesterday where a good portion of the game was spent stuck on the roof of the hospital, not knowing where people were because they were in these tunnely walkway areas at the base of the hospital. It's just so painful and poorly thought out. You would think it's obvious when designing a map like this. Oh, well, how are you going to find anyone in Assassinate when the compass is just going to fucking lie to you repeatedly about where people are because the map essentially has 2 levels. I mean, it's such a pain in the ass. There's no other map in the game which does this, which has like completely separate levels. The only map which I can think of which has a similar configuration to this is the deathmatch area in New York in Assassin's Creed 3, which is one of my least favourite deathmatch maps in the game because you are just going to be fucking struggling going between the low level and the high level, wondering where people are, and that is what the centre of this map plays like. So whilst it can be fun if everybody's on the roof and visible to you and you can make plays there, a lot of the time it's spent just fucking having no idea where everyone is, and then if you don't want to play in the hospital, you're stuck in these horrible different elevation roofs. You can't walk on the ground here as well because there is no area on the ground level of this map where you can walk to without being aerialed from these roofs, essentially. I think the only good part of this map, which isn't the roof of the hospital, is like a kind of markety area, like right in the corner of the map. However, it never gets played because it is so far out the way. The spawns of this map kind of promote the hospital area as being the main area of the map, so no one even plays in this like market area, which is the better area of the map as well. Now we have Mont Saint-Michel, and this map is extremely divisive, I find. A lot of people say it's the worst map that has ever been released, however other people say it's one of the best maps. For me, this map gets a C. Right, the glaring flaw with this map is its size. It is so fucking big. The play area itself is not actually abnormally large. I don't think it's much larger than a lot of other maps. However, because of the inclusion of the abbey in the middle of the map, which you can't even enter, this map's actual size, if you were to run around the outsides of the map, is just ridiculously large. To the point where if you are playing Assassinate games, it's actually hard to string chains together because people are often so spread out along the map. Actually, this map, it plays okay in Assassinate because a lot of people gravitate towards the courtyard outside the front of the abbey and the cloister area to the side. I find that map kind of becomes literally a battle for those areas with very few people using the roofs on the lower ground. However, in game modes like Wanted, this map is absolutely filthy because you have to spend most of the game just running from point A to point B because of the scale of this map. However, its size does lend itself well to like team-based modes. So if you play Artifact Assault, I would honestly vouch this map to be quite possibly the best Artifact Assault map released, despite the fact that it is kind of unbalanced. It is just hilariously fun to play on in Artifact Assault. It's a riot, honestly, because of this fun play across the roofs of this map for Artifact Assault. It's such a beautiful freerunning map. I would say it's the best map for freerunning in the game. However, that does not lend itself well to Assassinate, which is why it finds itself at C. Despite being an absolutely stunning map and amazing for freerunning, I can't give this map higher than anything for a C because it is so devoid of other players in the lower areas, and there's such a clusterfuck in the high ground by the abbey that it's hard to often find a middle ground between the two. Also, any map where half of the map is just underutilized isn't a good map, in my opinion. You know, if a good map design is having a map where players will use the entirety of the map, whereas Mont Saint-Michel, I find people are just going to be stuck on 1/3 of the map, so it's not exciting, honestly. I think this map had very good potential for being one of the best maps ever released, and whilst it is one of the most stunning, it is far from the best. I feel maybe if they kind of used half the playable area and made the abbey itself a kind of like indoor area where you could like just pot around the place with like columns and shit, like the inside of a cathedral, I think that would have made for a fascinating map. However, they've kind of missed a trick by making the actual design of half the map just generic rooftops, which are so differing in elevation that it's just a chore to play on them because of how you would have to kind of vary in elevation constantly and avoid getting aerialed, much like some other maps in this game. You know, there's no fun in playing areas where you have to constantly be concerned with getting aerialed, etc., which is why half this map isn't played. You know, it just stops this map from being great. Right, now we've got Siena. I am torn as to whether or not to give this map the highest tier of an S+, or an S. However, I would personally say it's an S. Now, what stops this map from being truly amazing is that it is so small that you find yourself getting vultured constantly on this map, you know. It can be quite tricky to get more than 1 or 2 kills in a live because you're just going to get fucking killed as soon as you make a kill. And luckily in ACR, vulturing is the hardest to do in any of the multiplayers because you have short cooldown smoke and obviously the ability to use it whilst you are in kill animation, unlike Brotherhood. I would still say the tiny scale of this map prevents it from being truly great. If it was maybe 30% larger, it would honestly be the greatest map ever released. However, its tiny size prevents it from being truly fantastic. Now, what makes this map great as it is just how flat it is, okay? It is really flat, which is great, because you don't want to be playing on maps with different elevations, and like Knights Hospital, you especially don't want to be playing on maps where people can just hide from you, you know, underneath the roofs constantly, which is the worst thing in the world. Siena does not have these problems because the rooftops it do have are these small tent-like structures with kind of limited player underneath. If you can't find anyone in Siena, you're doing something wrong, because it's so easy to find everybody here, because the areas where the people can hide are tiny. The roofs on this map are great because they're all one-story tall, they're all easy to access, and they're all easy to make play-ons. And unlike other flat maps such as Jerusalem, this map has got so many structures that it is exciting to play on. There are poor lines of sight everywhere on this map, which lend itself amazingly for Assassinate, because that somewhat counterbalances being vultured, because people can't cross-map lock you on this map because of how many different little structures there are on this map. I think it's superb. There's so many opportunities for plays, so many opportunities for acrobatic kills and grab kills. Honestly, this map is superb. Now, when we were playing it the other day, we played some Artifact Assault. I released like a memey, stupid Artifact Assault video a few days back of the Assault, and that kind of demonstrate what this map plays like for Artifact Assault. You'll either love it or you'd fucking hate it. I think it is a bitch to defend on this map. You just have to kind of like camp the other team's area and hope they don't teleport straight in. However, I found it hilarious. I thought it was so entertaining. There's no other map which plays so fast-paced than this one, and it is truly a brilliant map. Now we have Rome. I will give this map an A. I think this map is fine. It's a lot of people place it on a pedestal as being absolutely excellent, and whilst I think it is a good map, I wouldn't say it's like superb, because it can be quite roofy in places. However, a lot of the roofs are large. They're large roofs, and they're easy to avoid, which is important when designing a map with roofs. And with Rome, the main play area is the deathmatch area in the centre of the map outside the Pantheon, which is like a market area, which plays like Siena almost. It's all rooftops, which are one-story tall, easy to access, difficult lines of sight in places, and great for making plays. That area saves this map, because honestly, the exterior areas of the map with the rooftops are not particularly enjoyable. They're not as bad as some other roofs in this game. However, if the whole map played like the outside areas of this map, it would definitely be a C tier, because a lot of these roofs can be quite irritating. Though fortunately, the roofs are large enough so that they can operate as almost, pseudo-flat areas. However, this map definitely gets the right balance of roofy areas and exciting playmaking areas, unlike some other maps. I would say Rome is probably what I would consider to be the blueprint for most successful Assassin's Creed maps. They usually have roofy exteriors, and then they have a central area which is exciting for playmaking, and this map really gets that spot on. I think it's quite similar in that sense to Ippokratus, which is my other A-tier map, and it's also quite similar in the style that it has, a central area which is core to playmaking, to Florence even. Despite the fact that Florence is all roof, the quad area in the centre of that map operates, as a flat level, which is fun to play on, and that is why that map is a B. And I think Rome is the best example of this working well in the map, which is why it gets an A tier. Right. Now we have Galata, and I think this is everybody's least favourite map in Assassin's Creed Revelations. It is definitely the map that comes closest to being trashed here in this game, hence why I'll give it an F. Right, this map suffers from a lot of problems. Number one is this map is disgustingly roofy. It is quite possibly the roofiest map in the game, and unlike Mont Saint Michael, which have interesting courtyards and interesting cloisters and interesting features to play on, this map is almost completely devoid of that. There is one area at the base of the map near the docks which is kind of flat. There is one area at the top where the deathmatch zone is, which is kind of flat. Other than that, this map is 100% roof, and whilst there are intricate little courtyards and stuff for people to to play around on. There's almost no way you can go on this map without being aerialed. The one exception to which I think is like this marketplace kind of near the center of the map, which has like a covered ceiling so that people can't aerial you from above it, and I think that's the only area in the middle of this map where you can't be aerial killed from. That is not good map design. You do not want a map where you cannot go anywhere without being fucking aerialed. What makes this map even worse is the elevation on it is absurd. The whole map plays down the side of a hill, so all of the roofs just gradually fade downwards. They're all of different elevations, so if you are on the lower side of the map, it can be a pain in the ass to escape because you have to play up roofs towards people who are just going to aerial you. Honestly, sometimes the only way to get from the low ground to the high ground of this map is to permalock people. If you're lucky, you'll be able to get up there, but often you can just be stuck in the corner of the map. This map is also bloody huge. It is really big. It's possibly one of the largest maps in the game, or at least it feels that way. Maybe it's an illusion created by how horrible it is to traverse because of these reefs, but it feels so large when you play it. And also this map suffers from the last major issue of Assassin's Creed maps, which is sub-elevation. So areas where people will be playing underneath you. This map has a fuck ton of that. So it has the area that I mentioned earlier with the covered walkway. It has the areas in the deathmatch zone where there's like a whole hidden tunnel system underneath, and there are plenty of other areas like courtyards where people will be playing kind of in between the buildings underneath you, and can be impossible to find. Honestly, you could probably not find fucking Waldo on this map because of how disgusting it is, how many hidden areas there are underneath these roofs, how roofy the map is, how large the map is. It's just really, no, it just makes my skin crawl thinking about playing Assassinate on this. This map's one redeeming feature is that it is a okay Artifact Assault map. It's pretty balanced for Artifact Assault, and like Monster Michael, or Michelle, however you fucking pronounce that word, it can be a real pain, it can be a real joy to play Artifact Assault on because of the free running opportunities this map presents. That is its one redeeming feature, is it is good for free running. Other than that, trash map. It's not quite as bad as Northwest Passage from Assassin's Creed 3. The reason being is literally the only reason why is because two reasons. This map isn't completely broken like Northwest Passage. You can't, get in a hay bale and teleport to the other side of the map. And the second reason is because this map doesn't have a fucking stupid snowstorm which descends on the map for half the game, which makes it impossible to see more than 10 meters ahead of you. That is the only reason why this map doesn't get like a trash tier like Northwest Passage is. However, it does get its own F because it is a failure of a map. Now we have San Donato. I find this map kind of difficult to place. I think I'll give it a B. I would say it's probably the worst kind of small Assassin's Creed Brotherhood map that returned. This map I find is either hit or miss. Okay, like Florence. It is similar to Florence in the sense that it has a central quadrant, which is fun to play on. Now, this map, honestly, I think my main problem with this map is the covered walkway issue. So this quadrant, you can also play underneath it. So it kind of has the Knights Hospital issue. It's the same issue that the Knights Hospital has, where you'll be on the roof, and there'll be someone underneath you, and it's just, annoying, because you have to go find them, right? Other than that, this map is perfectly acceptable. I'm not giving it higher than a B because it's not the most exciting map in the world, but I think it plays fine. I think the problem with this map is it has quite long lines of sight on it, so it's quite easy to permalock on this map, or rather be permalocked, because if you're the one doing permalocking, you're a scumbag, simple as. I think this map, I don't have much to say about it, honestly, because it's just a very average map in my mind. I don't know if I'm being biased against it, because I don't have much playtime on this map, regrettably. But from my experience, it's just quite a forgettable map. The good thing about this map, I would say, is that it has the right blend of roofs and low elevation. So it's quite a flat map, yet it does have good structure placement. And I would also say it's a good sized map. It's not too small, it's not too large, which is really nice for Assassinate. Maybe if I played this map more, I would give it an A. But for now, I'm giving it a B, and that's just tentatively, because I haven't played on this map much to make, a really considered judgment of how I feel about it. Now we have Castel Gandolfo. This map is godly, I think. It is quite possibly the best map ever released in the history of Assassin's Creed multiplayer. It is exceptional. The map itself is absolutely beautiful. There's not a single map in the game which I think is this stunning. It's such a unique map, with it being almost entirely indoors and so many unique assets. It's the pinnacle of interior maps of the Assassin's Creed. From a gameplay perspective as well, this map is absolutely superb. It is well designed, well balanced, well varied, and it just lends itself so well to every mode in this game virtually. The way that the walls are laid out in this map are just brilliant, because it means you don't get great line of sight, which lends itself well to playing Assassinate. This map doesn't suffer from having the issue of covered walkways like other maps in this game. It's completely devoid of them. There is no place in this map where you can hide underneath people, which is painful, obviously. Nowhere in this map is like that. This whole map plays on one elevation, essentially. So whilst there are areas of different heights in relative to the ground, the actual areas only have one elevation. There's no walkways under walkways or rooftops over areas. And that is what makes this map so unique and so superb in the Assassin's Creed series. The only other map I can think of which solely plays on one elevation is Portobello, which I would say is inspired by this map, or even designed by the same person. Assassin's Creed 4 probably has the best maps in any of the Assassin's Creed games, and I would say that's because a lot of the maps in Assassin's Creed 4 borrow well from Castel Gandolfo. This map is even actually quite exciting to freerun, despite only being one elevation. There are like these fun areas where you can swing on the chandeliers, literally, or you can drop between levels. So it isn't devoid of freerunning. It's the perfect size. For Artifact Assault, this map is the most balanced map ever released. It is perfectly symmetrical, no word of a lie. If you get a floor plan of this map, it's literally the same on both sides, which is phenomenal. It is the only Assassin's Creed map which is perfectly symmetrical, and that lends itself so well to gameplay. It can't be understated how amazing that is. A lot of maps suffer from the issue of having areas which are high quality and areas which are low quality. Rome, Mont Saint Michael, they have these problems. Dyers has this problem. Hippocrates has this problem of areas which are good and areas which are bad. There's no such thing on Castel Gandolfo because the whole map is a inverse print of itself where both sides are the same. So you can't say, oh, well, I avoid that area because it doesn't play well. Because it plays the same as the other side of the map. The only area in this game which I find somewhat forgettable is the exterior of the map, because it's just kind of like a wide open courtyard, but it does even have a wall in it to break line of sight. I think this map is a genius stroke of level design. It's just perfect, and it gets an S+ tier because it is the perfect Assassin's Creed map. It's what every Assassin's Creed map should be. Lastly, we have Venice. Some people, some idiots that is, saying that this is the best map in the game, and I would strongly disagree. This map is an A. There are certain areas of this map which play really well. So you have the area kind of at the back, which is similar to Siena. It's like a carnival area with large tents, and another area which is like I'm not even sure what it is. It's like a merchant area, like a market area. I like those areas. They're really fun. They're like Siena, they're like the centerpiece of Rome. They're really good. This map, however, has one major flaw, and that is the large rooftop in the center of it. This roof is really annoying, and it holds back this map. It makes it hard to traverse from one side of the map to the other without being aerial killed and assassinate. And it's also horrible to play around because this roof actually has 3 different levels on it, which is no fun, obviously, for the covered walkways, essentially is what I'm describing. You can be on the top of the roof and not know where people are. You can be at the bottom and not know where people are. You can even be in the fucking middle and not know where people are because there are 3 stories to this roof. And it pains me because it holds back the potential this map could have had. If the structure in the middle wasn't climbable, much like the Dome in Jerusalem or the Abbey in MSM, this would be a superb map. But this roof just... it ruins the map for me completely. It's not particularly fun to play on, and it's not fun to play around. It serves as a massive blot in the centre of what is otherwise a good map, and that holds it back from being an S tier in my mind, is just this really grim roof. Ignoring that, if you stay around the centre of the map, around the outskirts of the map rather, it is brilliant. Like, no word of a doubt, it's like, you know, one of the better maps, one of the excellent maps of Assassin's Creed, but it is a dying shame that this roof prevents this map from being what it could have been. And with that is all 15 maps of Assassin's Creed Revelations done, including the DLC maps, which aren't always covered in conversation about maps. I hope you agree in the most part with my choices. I think there is, unlike, say, characters, which are largely dependent on the person's sense of style, I think generally there is a consensus as to what maps are great and which maps are bad. I hope I've captured what most people would think a tier list would be like for this game. I hope you find it agreeable. This is the standings of where I find these maps. Castel Gandolfo is an S+, Sook and Siena as an S, Ippokratus, Rome and Venice as an A, Antioch, Dyers, Florence and San Donato as a B, Imperial and MSM as C, Jerusalem and Knights Hospital a D, and Garter as an F. I hope you've enjoyed, and let me know what you think any changes you would have made would have been. If there's anything you disagree with, feel free to speak your mind, I don't mind. I think that's all for now. I've been talking for a long time, there's a lot of maps in this game, so it was always going to take about 40 minutes to make this episode. Peace out.